Hi, everybody. Debbie Warner here for Gina K Designs. Hi, Gina and Tom. I'm excited to be here, and it's always good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're really glad that you decided to spend this time with us. It is our April 2026 release party, and we have some really cool products coming out tonight. I want to show you my newest creation. It is a die set called Favorite Flora. And I like to quote Lisa Hetrick and call it leafery because that's what they are. They're all a bunch of leaves. And there are 8 different dies in this set. There are 3 a little bit bigger ones, 3 really tiny ones, and then 2 medium-sized ones. I wanted to give us options for sizes in case you just need to add a little something to a card that maybe one of those sizes would work well for you. So let me tell you about some of my samples. This time I had a lot of time. I had gotten my set a little early, so I spent time doing some things that usually take a little longer, and I'm excited to share them with you. So let's get started. I knew that I was going to be doing a lot of these dies in green. And so I just got all my favorite Gina K greens, which is pretty much all of them, and did a whole bunch of die cutting, and then I just sorted them out by the different leaves. This way it'd be easy for me to grab what I'm looking for when I'm making a card. On my first sample, I created a terracotta pot with my paper trimmer. I tried to give the pot some dimension by using faded brick ink. It was a contrast, but not too much of a contrast color. I used our snowy background stamp for the background and continued to ink blend, and those colors are the same, and it is Emerald Coast. Then I used the Happy Birthday greeting is from Birthday Wishes, and I stamped it in Christmas Pine to kind of pick up one of those colors from the leaves. I used a slate card base on this card, and then I had a white panel that I stamped our Elegant Script background stamp with soft stone. I ink blended with Emerald Coast, Key Lime, Lucky Clover, Fresh Asparagus, and then edged it with slate. I cut our birdcage out of black onyx and used the smallest decorative tag die, and that greeting on the decorative tag die is from Big Birthday. Finished it off with a little piece of gray and white twine. On this card, I used Ocean Mist and white cardstocks. Happy Birthday is from Old Age Birthday, and I did stamp that in Tranquil Teal. I used our tapestry embossing folder and rainbow pearls, and Master Layouts 19 was used to cut out the scallop and the scallop panel. For this card, I wanted to put my plants into a basket, and I don't have Lisa's basket set. I wish I did, but I don't. So I decided to create my own basket. To do that, I used craft cardstock and dark chocolate ink. I used the wood background stamp. I cut strips using Master Layouts 8, and the top piece I cut from our large sentiment strips. I used our Falling Leaves embossing folder and swiped a craft ink pad across it several times, and that panel is cut out of Master Layouts 4, and the Essential Greetings was used in dark chocolate for that greeting. I cut the circle out of Master Layouts 8, and that is blue denim, and then I edged it with our In the Navy ink. I then used a greeting from Old Age Birthday and embossed that with our silver embossing powder. The background, I used the leaves from With Sympathy, and I stamped those in soft stone. Then I ran that panel through our Swiss dot embossing folder. My leaves are all cut out of white, and then I used some ink to edge them in blue sky and blue denim. I finished it off with some of our silver pearls. These brightly colored leaves took a little bit of time, but let me explain to you how I made them. I used watercolor paper to cut these out, and then I soaked them for about, it was probably an hour and a half in some water, and then I went ahead and I added color with watercolor paints. When I was done, I set them on some paper towel to dry and let them sit overnight. I wanted to make sure that they were really dry before I took them to my card. Keeping with bright colors, I used a card base in key lime. Master Layouts 4 was used to cut that black panel. I cut a black strip and then used Friends Forever from Essential Greetings. It came together really easy, just tucked the stems of the leaves underneath that strip that I created. On this card, I used Master Layouts 21 to cut that dome. I cut it in white and black, and then on the white, I used a rainbow of Gina K colors, just swiping it with the ink pad. Vertical Greetings was used for Best Wishes, and I used the deboss side of the Petite Flourish embossing folder for this, and the leaves are cut out of white and black onyx. This card is simple yet elegant. I ink blended some blues and turquoises, and then in that I cut out our oval shaker shadow die, and then I cut it again in gold, and that is kind of the basis of it. Ivory cardstock on the outside, and then I cut the leaf out of the oval and then placed it off to the side, finished it off with some soft white pearls. The greeting, Happy Birthday, is from Big Birthday, and that was done in gold embossing powder. Last but not least, Debbie has tags for you. So the one on the left, I did do a little insert of those leaves because I cut them out of newspaper and then glued them onto some cardstock just for a little stability. That's a manila store-bought tag. I used our Thanks and Shadow die on that and just had fun with stencils and stamps on that one. And then the one on the right is very simple. It's another thank you tag, and that I used gold cardstock that I've had forever, and some of our cherry red. And those dies are both from our beautiful bookmark dies. So there you have my samples. I hope you liked them and found them inspiring and got some ideas. So I had a hard time figuring out which cards I really enjoyed the most because I really had fun with this die set and I had fun with a lot of the different things that I did with it. But I have two kind of favorites that bubbled up to the top for me this time. And the first one is this one. I don't know, it just looks fresh, and that terracotta pot that just, I created with my paper trimmer. It was pretty easy, and with a little blending on there that is sweet mango paper, and the blending I did with, I believe that was faded brick. So and then the other one is this one. It just, with that bird cage, I love that bird cage. And then in the background, very, very lightly, that elegant script. It just has a vintage feel for me. And I love tags. And so this tiny little tag that is in our decorative tag die set, that is always fun when I get to use that one. So I had a lot of fun with those. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate every one of you and love to see your work. So please continue to post in our Facebook group and tag us if you can, because we like to see what you do with our creations. So thank you again. Love you all, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.